Hello everybody, good morning to one and all. So today I'm going to introduce a new thing for you in fundamentals of computers. Before we go ahead with that, I just want to say a very warm wishes for everybody who are sitting in front of the projector. Alright, so today we are going to learn something about very interesting in the fundamentals of computers. So yes, we were been actually talking about the computers and its fundamentals. But before, when we were in the picture, when we were learning about the fundamentals of computers, we were been learning about what is a computer, what are the internals and external parts of the computers. So when I was taking the class initially at the first level of our computers, I was been telling you about the hardware and the software, isn't it? So today, yes, we are going to learn about introduction to the hardware and the software. So this is what you just have to remember today. So when you go for an interview, the internal part of the computers are especially more deeply into external and internal. So when I say external and internal, we have hardware and the software. So what is the hardware and what is the software, especially when it comes to the computer? Because without knowing about the hardware and the software and the applications on how to use a computer, it's like a binary language for you that you won't be able to understand what is a computer. So today I'm going to introduce you to the next level of things, that is hardware and software. So if you can see, when I say introduction to computers, we have hardware, software, firmware and peopleware. So when I speak about hardware, the only thing that you have to remember is what are the hardware systems of the computer, or what are the hardware components of a computer. When I say about the software, what is a software in the computer? And when I say firmware, yes, what is that? You just have to remember when I say firmware in the computer. And the last you have peopleware. Yes, what is a peopleware in the computer? So in computers, yes, you have hardware, software, firmware and peopleware. So these four are the most important things that you have to remember in the introduction to computers. So never ever forget that when you speak about the introduction to computers, these are the most important four components that you have to remember when I talk about the internal and external parts of the computer. So now let me introduce to the computer by hardware. So if you can see the presentation or the slide, yes, hardware is best described as any physical component of a computer system that contains a circuit board, ICs or other electronics. We already had a talk on it, if I am not wrong. Yes, we were been learning about the hardware from the last few days. Hardware is a mechanical part of your computer. If you compare our human body with computer, then the skin which make intelligence is software and the skeleton is hardware. That is a computer. It is combination of hardware and software. Hardware are the physical components that you can see and touch on your computer. It includes the I/O devices, cables, fans, cabinet, etc. So now, when I speak about the introduction to computers, when I speak about the hardware, always remember that compare this hardware or compare this thing with this human body. For example, if we are there, if we are literally present, what is that you just have to remember as a human body? Can you just tell me what is the hardware and what is the software in the human body? Yes, I'll tell you. In the human body, the hardware is something which we call as skeleton. Yes. And the software is simply can be said as the skin, or the skin tones which we really can't see sometimes. So these are what you can say about software. Alright. So never ever think that software can be seen. Okay, the software can be seen, but physically can you touch it? No, you can't touch the software, isn't it? So anything which can be touched physically and you can see them or manually repair them are called as the hardware components. These are the most important things that you have to remember. Examples. When I say about the examples, yes, these are devices, that is I/O devices, cables, fans, cabinet, etc. When I say about etc., you have hard disk, you have so many things, you have SMP, you have so many cables, you have motherboard, you have processor, all these comes under the hardware where you can physically see them and also repair them. So these are the most important things that you have to remember in the hardware, because I'll tell you one thing, hardware components, especially when I speak about the hardware, always remember the rectangular box which is actually connected to your monitor, isn't it? So the rectangular box, which we call it as CPU, that is central processing unit, we already have spoke about CPU and its components. So all the components inside the CPU are called as hardware. A very easy thing to remember, isn't it? So yes, anything that you can physically see and touch are the hardwares of the computer. So when I take you to the next slide, I just want you to remember, before I take you with the next slide, I just want you to remember what are the hardware. You know, every time we need examples, every time we need some of the things that we should see. I mean, until and unless if we see, we don't know what is actually a hardware. So now let me take you with the slide. Yes, we have system fan, we have floppy, we have heat sink, we have hard drive, we have optical drive, RAM modules, processors, motherboard, power supply, and in between whatever you can see is the cabinet. So in cabinet, all these are the hardware. So now when I speak about the hardware and these examples, can you just imagine every time when you were been in your house, you were been looking at some of the hardware components, you were been touching the hardware components, but you have ever done a research on them? Yes, of course, few people will be doing a research on that. But yes, did you ever know what are actually the hardwares of the computer? Let me show you some more examples. Apart from the CPU, we have so many others as the hardwares. For example, if you can see, speakers are a hardware. Yes, the hard disk is a hardware. The CD drive is a hard drive, and the printer is a hardware. Keyboard is a hardware, mouse is a hardware, pen drive is a hardware, speakers are a hardware, monitor is a hardware, and router is a hardware, webcam, iPod, and joysticks. All these internally or externally we connect them to the computer. So yes, of course, when we connect them to the CPU, obviously we are touching them, or physically we are able to see them. So that means these are the hardware components of the computer. So this is what I just want to tell you when I say about the hardware. So now let me go through the next slide. That is the most important thing, that is software. When I speak about the software, software is divided into two components: system software, application software. So when I speak about the system software or application software, I just want you to note this, because this will help you every time whenever you are into the test or whenever you are into a particular situation where you have to speak about a software. Because nowadays, yes, of course, you are going for jobs. When I say about jobs, everybody, every BTech, every degree are looking out for the software jobs. When I say about the software jobs, you should know what is a software especially, or what is the definition of a software. This is the most important thing that you have to remember whenever you are talking about the software. So now let me introduce you to the software. Yes, as I have said you, software is divided into two components. If you can see, one is system software, one is application software. So now when I speak about the system software or when I speak about the software, yes, in software, the most important thing that you have to remember every time is how exactly you are defining the software. Okay? So now, let me go ahead and show you what is the definition of a software. Let us go with the next slide. Yes, software instructions or data, anything that can be electronically stored if software. Yes, software instructions or data, anything that can be electronically stored in software. When I speak about the system software, set of programs that coordinates activities and functions of the hardware and various other programs. Application software, programs that help users solve particular computing problems. I want you people to note this down because this will help you every time whenever you are stuck in the definition of a software. Now, I will read system software for you once again. Set of programs that coordinates activities and functions of the hardware and various other programs is called a system software. Programs that help users solve particular computing problems is called application software. So now, when I define the system software and the application software, the most important thing that you have to remember is in system software, the system actually will play a major role. There is a set of programs that coordinates, for example, to understand what is the heat of the computer or what is the level of the computer, or the CPU basically, as we were talking about the cache memory and we were talking about few other memories yesterday, auxiliary memory, primary memory, cache memory. So all these memories are supposed to be coordinated, isn't it? So these coordinations happen through, or internal software happens through the system software, where these set of programs and functions of the hardware and various other programs. These deals with the various programs and the other programs the various functions in the computer. So internally, the software systems and the dealing of it is called system software. And the next thing that we have here is application software. When I speak about the application software, obviously you just have to remember only one thing, that is, yes, programs that help users. That means, for example, if you are using WhatsApp or if you are using Facebook, this application software will help you in resolving or solving or functioning that particular app. This application software won't be applicable for the other application software. So one application software is meant for one thing. It helps users to help that particular application to be developed in advanced. So these are something about software and the hardware. So now let us have a deep diagram of the application software. If you can see here, in application software we have computer games, spreadsheets, word processors, databases, internet browsers. In the system software, you have operating system, hardware, utilities. In system softwares, you have operating system and utilities. And yes, we have spoke about the hardware, and in hardware you have CPU, disks, mouse, printer and etc. So now tell me guys, what is the first green color in the diagram that are you looking for? We are looking at application software. For example, we have computer games, we have spreadsheets, we have word processors, database, internet browsers. So application software is something which deals with each and every particular thing, right? And then we have system software, where obviously the operating system and the utilities of the computer are being dealt with the system software. And then we have hardware, which internally are run by the software, and in the hardware we have CPU, disks, mouse, printer, and etc. So this is what you just have to remember in the software. So I think everybody have got a clear idea about what is a hardware and where exactly these play a major role in the computer. So when I speak about the internal parts of hardware and softwares, when I speak about the computer internal parts, that is hard disk or floppy drive or CPU, in the CPU all are obviously something which you can see and touch, and these are hardwares. But yes, when I speak about the operating system, I mean Windows 7, Windows 8, Windows 10, we have so many right now softwares, applications which run your computer. So these internal operating systems are being controlled by the software. Yes, these softwares are basically inbuilt and control it. When I speak about the application software, these play a very major role or very important role in understanding the system and the application, I mean every application. For example, if you have to open a browser, how do you think, or what will you think that is being operated? Yes, of course, the application software is something which actually deals. So yes, application software is a hardware of software and the hardware, I can say you. So when I'm saying that the application software is the most important thing that you have to remember, you can see here the basic chart flow of application software. In application software, you have two properties. One is proprietary software, the second is off-the-shelf software. In proprietary software, you have in-house developed and contract. And if you see off-the-shelf software, you have customized package and the standard package. When I speak about the customized package, you have in-house customized and you have contract customization. So these are the most important things that you have to remember when I am talking about the application software. So that is what you just have to remember when I am speaking about the application softwares, because application softwares, when I speak about the application softwares, this is the mother which runs the entire system, because application software is something which basically or influentially it's been addicted, you know, we have been addicted. For example, if you once open the internet, the first thing that you do is go into the Google. So what is the Google again? Yes, these instructions are being followed and being given by the application software. So this is the most important thing that you have to remember, especially when I talk about application software. So now let me show you what is the basic diagram of the dealing of the computers. You have users who deals with application software, and those are internally connected with operating and system softwares, and then they are connected with the hardware. So the hardware is directly being operated by the operating and the system software, and operating and the system softwares are run by application software, and application software is being guided and used by the users. So this is how these hardware and the softwares run, because you just can't put the hardware into your hand and then operate it, right. So, you use the application software. Application software uses the system software and the operating system, and then these both together use the hardware. So, for the hardware, software is again very much important, and for the software, yes, application software is very much important. So, these are the most important things that you have to remember. Now, let me take you through the most important thing, that is application software and deep of it. Okay. Now, let us go through the slide. Application software consists of programs that are designed to make users more comfortable and productive to assist personal tasks. The application software is present on computer hard disk. Application softwares can also be stored on CDs, DVDs and keychain storage devices. So, when I speak about the first point, application software consists of programs that are designed to make users most comfortable and productive to assist personal tasks. What does this mean? The meaning of this is nothing but, when I speak about the application software, every time when you open the system, you will obviously install the system, or you will obviously use your system according to your own design, isn't it? You will change the wallpaper, you will keep some applications to design your computer, change the style of the fonts, change the internal or the external designs of the monitor or the CPU, or you like to always customize your desktop or the laptop. So, what is that you are doing here, or who is that you are doing here? You are giving a command, or you are giving instructions to application software, and application software will make sure that it is giving all the commands that you are giving to the application software. It takes and customizes according to your personal tasks. So, that is what the meaning of the application software. That is the first point that you have to remember. When I take you with the slide once again, if you can just see the slide once again, we have the second point as the application software is present on computer hardware or hard disk. So, hard disk is again a hardware, isn't it? So, when I speak about the application software is present on computer hard disk, what does this mean? Where is the location of the application software? Obviously, the application software is being installed, or is being hidden, or is being shown in the hard disk of the computer. So, this is the second point that you have to remember. So, if I ask you a question, where is or where can you find the application software, or where is the application software installed, or where can you find application software? Internally, you can just say it is found in the hard disk of the computer. So, now let me take you with the third point. Application softwares can also be stored on CDs, DVDs and keychain storage devices. When I speak about the application softwares can also be stored on CDs, DVDs and keychain storage devices. What does this mean? Application software is portable, that is what I can say you. Because when I speak about the application software, these application softwares can be put into your pen drive or can be stored anywhere in the storage devices, because these are the softwares that can be taken anywhere and can be installed anywhere when you have a proper system. So, these are portable. So, when I speak about the application software, the first thing that you have to remember in the application softwares are these are used for the customization of your personal tasks. The first point, application softwares are used to customize your personal tasks. The second one that you have to remember is the application software is present, it is simply located on your hard disk. And when I speak about the third point, it is portable. So, these are the 3 points that you have to remember when I am talking about the application software. Am I very clear? I think. So, now let me tell you about the more in the application software. So, just remember 3 points, guys. The number 1 is it is used to customize, the number 2 point is it is located in the hard disk, and the third, it is portable. So, these are the 3 points that you have to remember in the components of, yes, I am talking about the application software. So, now let me go deep more into the application software. So, when I say about the application software, we have types of application softwares. Can we see the slide once again? Yes. So, the types of application software, the first one is proprietary, in-house, contract, off the shelf. So, when I go deep in understanding what is proprietary application software is designed to solve a unique and specific program or a problem. In-house, development of application software using the company's resources. Contract, developed for a particular company. Off the shelf, an existing software program that can be used without considerable changes accepted. So, when I speak about the proprietary application software, this proprietary software application software is basically designed to solve a unique and a specific problem. Because, for example, you have been using a computer. When you are actually using a computer, you will find some unique problem that can be, something related to your internal parts of the computer or internal parts of the application, or you want to do it something with the Google, or you want to do something with the new program. It can be any function, it can be anything. You just have to remember only number 1 thing in that is where and how are you using for a specific problem. Because I will tell you, this proprietary application software is basically put into a specific problem. Because if you have a specific program or a unique problem, these can be used. This application softwares will be used obviously for a specific or a unique problem. So, when I speak about the in-house application software, in-house application software is used for development of applications software using the company's in-house. For example, I will tell you, you are working in a company and internally all of them will have one particular server and everything will be dealing with the servers. So, that is called the in-house server, especially in the companies, especially in places where so many people work together, or workplaces usually have this in-house application software. And then the next one is contract. What is this contract? Developed for a particular company. For example, few companies will have a particular application developed for them. For example, if you see Facebooks have their own application. If you can see Google have its own application, but again Google is being also in-housed sometimes. This is what you just have to remember, don't get confused, right? And then the last one what we have is off the shelf. An existing software program that can be used without considerable changes accepted. For example, there are few softwares, few applications without even updating they run, or without even using anything, or without even touching them. Once you installed, it's just enough once you install them, and later there is no need of considering them whether they have to be updated or not. So, this is off the shelf, alright. So, these are the 4 things that you have to remember when I am talking about the applications of the software. So, this is when you get the basic idea about application software, because application software is the mother of the hardware and the software, because once the user uses the application software gives the command to operating system and the system software, and the system software will give the command to the hard drive. So, once the hard drive gives back the commands to the operating system and the system software, this both will give the command back to the application software, and the application software will show us what exactly we were being looking out for. So, this is the most important thing that you have to remember when I am talking about the system software. So, now let us go with the more in, or I just want you to go deep into something that is system software. Yes, we have been talking about the application software. Yes, now let us go with the system server. In system software, programs are designed to operate, control and enhance the processing capabilities of the computer. System software is developed by the computer manufacturer in a low level language. It also has hardware components to work together and provide support for the development and execution of application software. Yes. And now, what are the system softwares? When I talk about the system softwares, you just have to remember that whenever you are operating anything, for example, you have a software used by your application software, but what do the system software do, people? Yes, the system software will try to enhance, evolve and develop the instruction that the application software gives and re-gives it to the next level. So, this is what the system software do. And then when I speak about the system software, the second point or the first point that you have to remember the most is it is developed by the computer manufacturer in a low level language. For example, these system softwares cannot be prepared by any individual, or this really cannot be done by any person or any XYZ or any of the citizen. So, always remember guys, this system softwares can only be done by the manufacturer of the computer. Whatever computer you have, the manufacturer of the computer will design this system software. So, this is the most important thing that you have to remember when I am talking about the system software. And then let me take you with the second point. If you can see the second point here, you have it also has hardware components to work together and provide support for the development and execution of application software. Yes. When I speak about the system software, here in the second point, the system software and the hardware collide together and work to develop the application software command. For example, application software are your parents. Let us imagine your parents are application software. So, whenever your parents give you a task, you and your brother or you or your sister or you and your sibling will try to finish the task. So, what is your sibling here? Hardware. And what are you? Software. So, when you collide together or when you use the hard drive to clear or to function or to operate whatever command that is being given by the application software is the work of the system software. So, this is what you have to remember when I am talking about the system software and its uses. Okay. So, now let me take you more deeply into the operating system software. So, let us see the slide. Yes, operating system software perform common computer hardware functions, provide a user interface, provide a degree of hardware independence, manage system memory, manage processing tasks, provide networking capability, control access to system resources, and the last one is manage files. I will read it for you once again. Operating system software perform common computer hardware functions. The meaning of it is it just tries to evolve and try to execute the common computer hardware functions. Provide a user interface. And what does that mean? Provide a user interface is nothing but it will provide you to have customization in the interface. When I speak about the third one, provide a degree of hardware independence, where sometimes the hardware have their own independence to function at one particular point without the help of system software. Manage system memory, because operating system should play a role in managing the system memory. Manage processing skills or processing tasks simply mean the functions, the binary language, matrix. Provide networking capability. It is about all networking and providing the capability of different user interfaces. And then we have control access to system resources. And the last one we have is manage files. So, manage files is nothing but manage the data, right. So, this is the most important thing that you have to remember, especially when I speak about the operating system software. We have 8 important parts or 8 important job roles that the operating system software does. So, now let me show you few examples of system software, because everybody wants to see, isn't it? Because without examples you will never be able to understand what is or what is that we are learning, right. So, now let me show you few of the examples of system software. If you can see here, you have Windows Media Player. Oh, it is Windows. You have Linux, you have Mac, you have Ubuntu, you have Android, you have Symbiosis, you have ClearOS, you have BlackBerry, Apple, Palm, Java, CentOS. All these are few examples of the system software, because when you have the system software as an operating system, obviously the system software will manage and try to operate with the system software. So, when I speak about the system software, at last, you know, we always have something which is very important, because without the operating systems nothing can be solved. So, this is the most important thing that you have to remember when I speak about the examples of the system software, all right. So, these are somehow are the operating examples where these are interlinked with the system software to give the perfect function output on whatever you input, alright. So, this is what you always have to remember about the system software. And now, let me take you with the next ware. What is that? It is firmware. Let us see the slide once again. A firmware is a type of software that is embedded in hardware. We may think of firmware as software for hardware. While manufacturing hardware devices, it is found that cost is more important than performance. Then the computer system architecture may decide to minimize the use of electronic circuits and implement the desired function using a set of instructions or software. Alright. So, now when I speak about the firmware, what is the meaning of the firmware? The meaning of the firmware is nothing but this is a type of a software that is totally tied up with the hardware or function with the hardware. While manufacturing the hardware devices, it is found that cost is more important than performance, and then the computer system architecture have decided to minimize the use of electronic circuits and implement the desired function using a set of instructions. Guys, the firmware is nothing but whenever you see a hard disk, for example, when you usually when you see a motherboard or something, when you look at the motherboard, you have a basic chip installed in the motherboard which passes the entire information throughout the motherboard, or if you can see, every place have one important thing, that is the firmware, which is interlinked with the software and hardware, or you can see it is coded or it is tied up with the hardware and the software, and then it is used to put up the output. So, now yes, it is a little confusing. So, let me show you an example about what is a firmware. So, now let us see the slide once again. Yes. Devices that we think of as strictly hardware generally have a piece of software programmed into special persistent memory contained in the hardware itself. The memory stores the program code and related data usually. Firmware is stored in non-volatile memory devices such as ROM, EPROM or flash memory. Is it interesting? Yes. Yesterday we were learning about ROM, EPROM, and I was telling about volatile memory and non-volatile memories. So, firmware comes under non-volatile memory. Just remember the non-volatile memory, because these are the most important things that you have to remember when especially you are going for an examination or an interview. Alright. So, now let me give you the more details of firmware. Let us see a slide once again. If you can see the slide, we have firmware is an integral part of electronic devices such as optical drives, routers, traffic lights, consumer appliances, digital watches, computer peripherals, mobile phones and digital cameras. So, always remember that firmware is an integral part of electronic devices such as optical drives. It's just, if you can see the chip in the image. So, this is something which leads or which plays a major role, or you can say which plays an integral part in the electronic devices. Any electronic devices you take, these chip you can find, or this small thing that you can find, which plays a very big role in producing the data and giving the output. So, this is what you just have to remember when I speak about the firmware. So, firmware have always an amazing structured category symbolized into few devices, few electronic devices. For example, you have Wi-Fi routers in our houses right now. Every house has been developed with a Wi-Fi, isn't it? So, how do we get Wi-Fi? Through a router. So, what is a router and how it is run? Again with a firmware. In the internal part of the hardware of your router or Wi-Fi router, obviously you can find the firmware located in your router. And this is the most important thing that you should never forget, because obviously firmware is developed with the help of or with the tie-up of the hardware and the software. This is what makes you more intelligent when you get to know about the firmware. So, the last one which we have to learn about is the peopleware. What is a peopleware? Peopleware is a term used to refer to one of the three core aspects of the computer technology. The other two being hardware and the software. Peopleware can refer to anything that has to do with the role of the people in the development or use of computer software and hardware systems, including such issues as developer productivity, teamwork, group dynamics, the psychology of programming, project management, organizational factors, human interface design, and human machine interaction. So, when I speak about the peopleware, it is simply can said as the three core aspects of computer technology. So, this is what you just have to remember, because yes, peopleware, what does this mean? Peopleware, can I give you an example? Yes, you will be sending an email or you will be sending, oh wow, we have an example here. Peopleware refers to the human role in an IT system. It may, in many cases, peopleware forms a kind of conceptual triangle with hardware and software. The term refers to the human talent as a kind of commodified piece of an IT process and a key part of providing various technical business models and other planning resources. So, peopleware is nothing but something which are being executed through people at that particular situation or a movement, where it have a triangle concept to follow. This is what you just have to remember when I speak about the peopleware. So, peopleware is nothing but it is a people used applications or people used internal thing in a triangle view. For example, you, your friend and your person is to see. Simply always remember, peopleware is nothing but it have a triangle category of understanding. The first one is going to be peopleware, the point, the adjacent point is going to be software, and it is going to be the hardware. So, this is the three internal parts that calculates and gives the data. Because let me show you an example before I say more about the peopleware. Wow, amazing. So, we have something called as peopleware example, where we have a triangle, where the first triangle have the people sitting on a laptop and the desktops and working, and the second we have software, which it can be a studio or it can be anything, and then the next is the hardware. So, this is what is peopleware is. So, people basically put up a command or put up an very important thing to the software, and the software gives it to hardware, and that is when the peopleware is formed and exists. So, this is what you just have to remember when I speak about all of the softwares. So, when I speak about the softwares and the hardwares, the most important thing that you have to remember, especially when I speak about the softwares and the hardwares, are how many types of things are there. You know, at the initial stage, I have shown you in the introduction of computers. If you can just see here once and this slide, yes. When we have introduced the topic, we were been talking about the hardware, software, firmware and the peopleware. Yes, we have spoke about the hardware. Yes, we have spoke about the software. Yes, we have spoke about the firmware. Yes, and at the last we also have spoke about the peopleware. So these four are the most important things that you have to remember, especially in the hardware and the software of the component. So always remember guys, the first is the people, and the second is the users, and the second is something that is called application software. So once after the application software, we have system software and the operating system, and then we have hardware. So this is a cycle that you have to remember every time when I speak about the cycle of the thing. So let us give you an example about this. So if you can see the slide here once again. So when I show you the slide, in the slide you can see the first command is being followed by the users, where the application software is taking the command from the user and then they are giving it to the operating and system software, where these will be forwarded to the hardware, and the hardware will revert back the command to the operating and system software, and then these going to give the command to the application software back, and these application softwares are going to give the command back to the users. That is what the output that we get on the monitor. So this is the most important things that you have to remember on today's session. So today's session is all about the hardwares and the softwares and the importance of them. I think everybody have noted that properly. Please don't forget that, because these are going to help you when the topic of fundamentals of computers come into the picture. So this is one of the most important topics that you have to remember, because without knowing this you can never talk about the computers and the machines, because these will help you in understanding and reusing and will give you a re-ability to evolve the machines and the computers. So I just want to thank all of you people for listening to this class so patiently and understanding this class. Share the video, and thank you so much, and I am Kranth.